It appears fully back on, and the renewed strikes drove oil prices to a 2-month high. Joining us now, Doug Flynn from Flynn Zero Capital Management. I haven't seen you in a while, Doug. It's good to see you. Welcome.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you.
Of course. Oil prices, they shot up in the last few hours after we heard from the president. Do you expect to see the rise in oil continue, or is this just a reaction to the news? You always tell me stock markets respond a little bit slower.
Yes, I think the escalation fear is what prompted the rise in the oil prices. The markets aren't really reacting, the stock markets aren't reacting terribly. The NASDAQ is basically flat, which is saying this is not a sell tech day. This is more of like what's going to be impacted by oil prices. If they stay here, and possibly the fear is that they go all the way back up to $100 a barrel. That's always in the back of everyone's mind. But there was always some risk priced in. But this escalated a little bit, so now this is very normal. We'll see what happens from here. It's day to day, as you know. It's on again, off again. This is kind of what we live with in this war.
In Turkey, President Trump repeated his desire to impose a trade embargo on Spain. Again, he did not mince words when it comes to that nation. Here's what he said.
We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore, by the way. I'd like you to cut it off. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain, please.
When he said that, he was talking to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Doug, how would ending a trade relationship affect the U.S. economy?
Well, you know, it's symbolic, but it's not going to make that much of a difference. I'm sorry to say. It's they're our 23rd largest trading partner, so there'll be some industries that would be affected, of course. But it's not going to, you know, put us into a recession or anything like that. So I think it's more about the fact that what's going on, as far as I can see it, is that Spain is helping NATO in the way they want to help NATO. They're not helping the way that they agreed to as part of the EU. And, you know, and all of the people in Europe and the countries are probably like on a group chat saying, hey, can you just come online? And Trump, as you know, whips out the megaphone, and that's what he does. So he's trying to get them to do what they agreed to do, and stop helping the way you want to help. This is the way that you agreed to help. I think that's where we are. But it's not going to throw us into recession or really make that much of a difference. Of course, there's always industries and businesses and whatnot that get affected when this happens.
So not to simplify it, but this wouldn't be that significant, at least for the U.S. economy.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Really, it would not be. No.
All right.
If it goes to other parts of Europe, and I don't see that, but if it did, then of course, then that would escalate that fear and concern. But if it's isolated to just Spain coming online here and doing what they agreed to, it's not going to do anything.
Especially because it's our 23rd largest trading partner, which I'm glad you mentioned. Let's bring it back here. It is not tax season, but you are our tax guy, and there are questions. Millions of taxpayers may be ineligible for a refund from the pandemic era. So if you paid IRS penalties or interest between 2020 and 2023, this Friday may be your only chance to get your money refunded. Walk us through this. Who qualifies for a refund? What are the next steps?
Yeah.
What do they have to do?
So, yeah, what happened was there was a case that during the pandemic, the government said that we're going to suspend interest and penalties, and then the IRS never programmed that into the computer. So if you filed your return from 20 to 23 and paid any interest or penalties, or if you got a letter later on that you owed back taxes that had interest and penalties through that period, the way you have to sort of apply for this is just get it on the record there, file form 843. You got to get it in, and we would recommend sending it certified return receipt so you have proof of that. And all that does is buy you the time and the ability to actually file for the refund. It doesn't guarantee you'll get one, but one thing we know is if you don't fill out this form, if you had this, you're guaranteed to not be eligible for it. So it's really wise. Call your CPA or look at your own returns and say, did I have any interest or penalties during COVID? I got to get this form in so I reserve my right to be able to file it. That's what you're trying to do here, and it's definitely worth doing if you did pay anything.
Great advice. I know a lot of people are wondering about this. Doug Flynn, thank you so much. And let's go.